You ready?
Yes.
Okay. And you got this document, is that right?
Yes.
Because it says Office of Board Governance, and that's what you have on your email as the, as an email to send to you, right?
Yeah, governance is the general mailbox.
Okay. And it also has your specific mailbox on there too, right?
Yeah.
Did you receive this twice?
I cannot tell you how many times I've received it, because I don't have that information in front of me, but I have received it.
Okay. And here, help me out here. I've got Henry for MPS@gmail.com. Do you see that?
Yes, I see it.
And I got Bobby Peterson @gmail.com. Do you see that?
Yes, I see it.
And I got Zayla @WPCA-Milwaukee.org. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Those aren't MPS emails, are they?
No.
And I also have gokulganhij@gmail.com. Do you see that?
Yes.
That's also not a MPS email, right?
Yes.
Do you believe these board members are conducting MPS business on other email accounts?
I'm going to object to the following questions. Broad and vague calls for speculation. These are email addresses that they're being sent to these people. They're not sending emails to others with these addresses.
Thanks for that testimony, Chris.
No, I'm just clarifying your question
That's testimony.
because you're misconstruing it.
Okay.
Go ahead and answer if you can.
I don't have a response from them in front of me, so I can't speak to that.
Have you ever received emails from any of these directors on any of these email addresses as indicated here?
Yes.
Okay. And was those emails regarding governmental business or something else?
Not per se. No. I actually don't know how to answer that.
Were they birthday greetings?
Why don't you let her finish her answer?
So when I say I don't know how to answer that, because I have received emails thanking me about my stance or words or yeah. I haven't received business from them. I haven't received any business from them from personal email as it pertains to official board business.
Okay, and those are when you say stances, those are stances related to MPS, right?
Yeah.
And then when you say words, those are words related to MPS, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you're a director at MPS, right?
Yes.
Okay. And during the time that you received those emails, you were a director, right?
Yes.
And the people you received those emails from were also directors?
Yes.
Okay. Did you receive any training in the public records law at any time?
Yes. Very brief online. A general training on open records requests. Yes.
Okay. And then during that training, was it ever discussed the use of non-MPS emails?
Yes.
And what was that training indicate to you at that time?
The training basically stated that if you or you're not encouraged to use any domain or email outside of MPS, because in the event that an open record request is made, you will have to, that email account will be subjected to being in question, or information can be accessed because of the use.
Okay, based on your knowledge and experience as a board director, do you believe that Robert Peterson received that same advice?
Yes.
Okay, how about Marva Herndon?
Yes.
Henry for MPS, that would be Henry Leonard, right?
Yes.
Okay, you think he's got that? And how about Jilly Gokul Gandhi?
Everyone.
Everyone. So we don't need to go through all of them?
No.
Okay, all right. So, going on, it says, this email is regarding continued documentation of a toxic workplace at MPS by Teresa Folaron, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the date here I have is June 20, that's not the accurate date. The date I have here is Monday, August 1st of 2022. Do you see that there?
Monday, August 1st. Yes, yes.
Okay. And going on, it says Milwaukee School Board of Directors. As you know, I am a whistleblower and have been since 2019. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is that a true statement?
Check the forum questions. Broad and vague also calls for speculation, lacks foundation. Go ahead and answer if you can.
Whistleblower, yes. She said she has been one since 2019. I was not on the board at that time.
Okay. And I get that you may not have been on the board at that time. Based on your knowledge and experience as a board member, do you have any knowledge of the fact that Teresa Folaron was a whistleblower since 2019?
Based on what she wrote, yes.
Okay. Does she also tell you that, for example?
I know she's a whistleblower. I don't know that we discussed how far back, but I do know that she's a whistleblower with concerns, issues, complaints filed against MPS.
Okay.
Based on.
And you believe she's made an official whistleblower report to Matt Chasen, right?
Yes.
And that's because Matt Chasen told you about that, right?
That's because, well, according to attorney-client privilege, that is what was initially presented during our session where we had attorneys present.
Okay. Going on, Ms. Folaron states, my whistleblower reports include allegations of mismanagement, malfeasance, fraud, nepotism, retaliation, and discrimination. Is that a true statement based on your knowledge and understanding?
True statement as to what's written in here, or a true statement as to the allegations made? I object to the form of the question. It's broad and vague, certainly not clear. Calls for speculation.
Are you confused about the question at all, ma'am?
Yes, what I can say is it's factual that she put it here. Based on her experience, her complaints. I can't say whether it was factual or not because there's an investigation that will make those conclusions. Yeah.
Sure, but you've got your own knowledge and experience, right?
Yes.
Okay, so based on that knowledge and experience, do you believe that Ms. Folaron's whistleblower reports included allegations of mismanagement?
Based on just my ability to comprehend what's in writing, yes, it's here. She put it in writing.
Okay. And do you believe that her allegations of mismanagement are accurate?
Object to the form of the question. It's broad and vague, calls for speculation, lacks foundation, and I think it's been asked and answered. Go ahead and answer it again.
I want to make sure I understood the question correctly. Can you please restate that?
Sure. What do you think Ms. Folaron's allegations of mismanagement are?
Exactly what she says, that she feels like funding, there was a lack of process accountability for how funds were distributed or allocated. And as a result of that, it impacted the fidelity of this program.
Okay. Now, is it true, and there was an audit that found such mismanagement, correct?
That cited me, yep, yes.
Okay. And MPS responded to that audit that found mismanagement, right?
Yes.
Okay, but MPS as a board took no action, right?
When you say as a board, can you elaborate?
Sure, you know what the board is?
I know what the board is.
Okay, and the board acts, right, as a body?
Yes.
Okay, so is there any board action as a body that took to address these allegations of mismanagement?
Yes.
Okay, what was that?
Those actions were discussed in executive session with an attorney present.
So I'm going to object at this point in time and assert attorney-client privilege and instruct the witness not to answer.
Well, is it your testimony that the board took action in closed session about the MPSU fraud?
When you say took action, what do you mean?
That there was a vote, and that after that, was there a vote about the MPSU taken in closed session? Let's start with it.
Again, there's nothing to vote on yet because we have to go through the investigation. And as mentioned numerous times before, we were presented with the items the first session, updates the second, but no final investigative report has been presented to us for us to make a motion or to move on anything.
Well, except for the Baker-Tilly audit, right?
The Baker-Tilly audit covered a lot of things that has been addressed and haven't been addressed.
And the MPSU response to the Baker-Tilly audit, right?
I don't remember that response off the top of my head, but I know there were, there's responses to the audits. That's mandatory.
Okay, so, and I just want to be clear, when you're saying there's actions that's been taken, these are secret actions conducted in secret by the board, correct?
Check the phone question is argumentative. It's also broad and vague and
It's very vague, because actions is, actions can be a lot of things, but it may not look like a policy revision or a budget allotment or a contract renewal or a contract. I don't know. Action looks different depending on the matter at hand and where we are in that process.
Okay.
So
I got
action.
it. So we'll, instead of using the word action, we'll use the word vote. Is that okay?
I think they're going to pretty much be the same thing. I mean, we vote all the time. If you're asking me if action is equivalent to voting, we vote all the time on things. So actions are
Sure. Has the MPS school board taken any public vote to address the allegations of mismanagement?
we would check the form of the question is broad and vague. Also been asked and answered repeatedly, but go ahead and answer it again.
Mismanagement matters will not be, or as far as I'm concerned, and during my time on the board, they have not been discussed on the board floor. Those are executive session discussions where attorneys are present when you're talking about mismanagement or anything like that. That's not anything we discuss publicly. It is an executive session.
So based on those discussions, do you believe that the MPS school district takes any action? So, and let me explain what I mean. So you have discussions in a closed session meeting. Do you believe that Keith Posley, for example, then acts on those discussions?
It depends on what the discussions lead to. Like, what is the directive of the board, or what are we seeking, or where we are in the process. And I think that's why I can't just answer this with a simple yes or a simple no. It depends.
Sure, but to have a discussion, it is going to mean that there's no vote.
To have a discussion where?
In the closed session,
And at what phase of the process? Because every part of the process will not require a vote. Sometimes that's a reconvening for later. Sometimes that's bring this information to our attention. We need more information. I mean, that's not a simple yes or no.
okay. So we've established then that the board will say, just for example, sometimes in closed session, sometimes administration, we need more information, right? Sometimes they'll say we need more information.
I mean, that's one of the things that can be said.
Okay, what other things can be said?
Check the form of the question is broad and vague. Go ahead and answer if you can.
Anything can be said in closed session. I mean, it can be said, you know what, we want to see this written in your evaluation so that next year we are able to measure. I mean, anything can be said.
Okay, when does the board vote in public on the request to the administration for more information that you just identified?
So, the reason why that is a difficult question to answer is because, again, if you have an agenda item and Aisha is one of the items, Teresa Folaron is one of the items, and as a board member, I want to talk about MPS University, except for an example, I cannot speak on that right there or make a motion or vote or make any action because it's not on the agenda. So that's a loaded question that can be answered in different ways.
Sure, but it's not, because what we're trying to identify here is that you are taking action in closed session meetings, and the action that we've identified, and there's other ones according to your testimony, is that there is the times when the board will say, Superintendent Posley, you know what, we want more information, right?
Object the form of the question is broad and vague. This interprets most of her testimony, calls for speculation. Go ahead and answer if you can, if you understand the question.
Ask the question again, please.
Okay, and I'll break it down for you. You testified earlier that there's times in closed session where the board will come back to Superintendent Posley in closed session and say, we want more information, correct?
In closed session, as the same as on the floor, we can ask the administration to bring this information back to the board by a certain time. That can happen on the floor or in executive session, and it's not necessarily always directed to the superintendent. That can be an attorney, bring this back, or Office of Board Governance, bring this back, or Office of Accountability and Efficiency. The meetings do not necessarily end every meeting in we need or this Superintendent Posley. It depends on the situation, the matters at hand, whatever is being discussed. So it's not as clear as a yes answer or a no answer. It depends.
Sure, but if the board in closed session directs Keith Posley to do something, has there ever been a situation where the board doesn't vote on that action?
A vote isn't necessary
Okay.
necessarily.
So
For a certain, like if we're given a directive, we don't have to say who all agree. If the directive is to bring something back to me or share certain experience, like I don't need everybody in this room to vote on that. That is a request that I have as a board member or as a collective board. There's no vote that's needed with that specifically, if I'm understanding your question.
Okay, so sometimes, and I think I understand, sometimes the board will communicate to Keith Posley. Keith Posley will then do it, but there's not, or he might not do it, but there's not a directive because no vote is taken, so therefore it's simply a request. Is that fair?
It's a directive, but it doesn't always require a vote. If I, as a board member, ask, say, a superintendent to bring me this information, I don't need a vote on that. That's a directive as a board member or as a collective board. Now, based on the information that is brought forth and the matters or the issues at hand, we may require a vote on an action, but it has to be noticed as an actionable item.
Okay, so keeping that in mind, are there ever times when you've got consensus in you're directing without actually voting, that then you go into open session and revote?
Revote, there's no
Oh,
vote.
sorry, vote.
Say that
Check
again?
the form
Sure.
of question.
Has there ever been a time in executive session where the board, acting collectively, directs the management to do something, and then it goes into open session and votes?
Check the form of question, it's broad and vague, it's speculation, go ahead and answer if you can.
I'm sorry, I don't know that I completely understand the question.
Okay, let's put it another way. Let's say a member of your district, a constituent of yours, wants to know what's going on in NPS, okay? There are going to be things that are happening in executive session, and there are going to be communications between the entire board and Keith Posley, right? And Keith Posley's then going to do it, right? Okay, but when do you tell the members of the public what you've discussed with Keith Posley and what he's going to do?
I mean, if the issues are like brought up, say, from the media, that's usually how the public finds things out. If the media airs it, then someone may inquire and ask what happened or what was discussed. Yeah, I think that's the best way that I can answer that. If people are made aware of it and they inquire, if there's no legal restraints, we speak on it. Otherwise, they do an open record request, which is, I encourage people to do that.
Okay, so then just correct me if I understood that right. You directors make secret decisions, and then if a member of the media or a member of the public find out about your secret decision, then it can be discussed in public. Is that fair on what you said?
I'm gonna object, that question is argumentative, compound, broad and vague, calls for speculation, go ahead and answer the best you can.
I think secret is the wrong word. Legally, we cannot speak on certain things. We can't, or so we've been told that. And so, yeah, I think as board members, and this is the confusion a lot of the public have, there's certain things we can't do because we are elected officials, because we have policies and laws that we have to adhere to as well. And so, yeah, it's the best way I can answer that.
Have you ever discussed with board members about votes in advance of a vote?
So, not board members. I'll use my feasibility study proposal and just say I reached out to a board member to ask for their support.
Okay, one board member?
Legally, we cannot talk with more than one. It's almost like a telephone game where you have to ask them to then reach out to another and then another to reach out. Yeah, that's how I understand the process, and that's what I've done in those cases. Or I don't.